Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a tale of mistaken identity and instant karma where one overzealous customer tried to catch employees slacking. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I can't be on break if I don't work here. I had a pickup order at my local Orange home improvement store. I was wearing jeans, a black cami tank top, and a black leather backpack I sometimes use as a purse. Please keep this in mind. I finally got called to one of the cashiers who was obviously still in training, trying hard, but needed to call the manager a few times. In addition, there was a bit of a delay retrieving my order. I made some idle chat with the cashier as I waited for my order to be complete. An older gentleman came up from behind me without being called from the line. He interrupted us quite rudely by asking the cashier if she was on break. Confusedly glancing over at me, she timidly replied no. He then turned to me and asked if I was on break. Realizing he thought he was busting a couple of employees slacking, I was very happy to tell him that no, I didn't work there and was a customer just like himself. He shot me another dirty look and returned to the line without saying another word. Yeah, he can't stand idle chatter between workers at a store. After all, he always worked hard, didn't have time to idle chatter in the workplace, and he was too busy pulling himself up by his bootstraps. It'd be fun to have led him on as long as possible without actually telling him you were a customer. See how wound up you can get him. And our second story. What do you get when you mix bricks, ice, and corporate denial? Dental work. Part 1. The issue begins. I worked at a major tourist attraction during this time, and we got thousands of customers every day. Part of our attraction was outside, and we had expanded part of the outside to accommodate new parts for the attraction. In order to blend with the theme of the new section, a brand new brick pavement was installed in the area. Upper management had at the time a tendency to not think things 100% through, and this was no different. The big thing was that it was not decided not to install an anti-slip surface on the brick pavement. Now, we were in the middle of summer, and it was a particularly dry summer, but nonetheless, when it isn't dry, we got a lot of rain and a lot of snow and frost. We need that anti-slip surface. We told upper management this, and as per usual, fell on deaf ears. Winter comes far too soon, and with it all, the rain that was meant for summer and to make up for a dry autumn, and the winter of 2022 was bad for the UK. Temperatures fell to single digits and then negative in the Celsius. With the cold came a permanent frost over the brick pavement and the beginning of malicious compliance. Part 2. The compliance. The first slips and falls heralded us to the idea. At the time, the company required us to write in paper accident and incident reports about everything if something happened. Now, anyone who's worked in tourist attractions, we've all seen kids fall from being too excited, and we often do a polite to see if blood, gore, missing limbs are present, and if all is good, we just ignore it. No one likes paperwork. Not to mention, due to upper management's distaste for us, we had to take the long way to the offices where the paper was to fill it in, and get someone to cover for us while we filled it in. Upper management hated us being in their special offices and not out with the paying customers. It's worth mentioning in their defense, our lower managers and middle managers were on our side because even they knew what upper management was doing was utter nonsense. So they saw what we were doing and agreed with it. What happened was every single slip that occurred outside on the impromptu ice rink that was the brick pavement we would report. That's about 15 to 20 minutes of us in the warmth, not freezing our butts off, writing about how someone had slipped in the exact same manner as the last 10 people, all in plain view of upper management. I like to believe they began working from home more due to us being there in their office. I learned from one of our lower managers that is a dear friend that the stack of reports handed to upper management was measurable in inches. I do not regret saying I was one of the top 3 contributors to that pile. Part 3. The bare minimum response. Upper management finally began to make efforts to fix the situation. They decided to just cordon off the vast majority of the brick pavement with temporary, ugly barriers and put down anti-slip mats to make a path for the parts of the attraction that they wanted visitors to walk in. They thought they had won. We knew better. Anyone who's worked with tourists knows that tourists are a special breed of stupid. Told not to touch the very important items, they will touch. Told to keep their kids near and not let them wander off. I think the record for no lost kids was 4 hours. And so these barriers that everyone is required to respect, well, clearly it doesn't apply to me. Each time we told people not to go underneath these barriers, they looked like deer caught in the headlights, and the barriers were just low enough that kids would duck under and run straight onto the ice and onto their butts. Even more accident and incident reports rocked up as a result, and all upper management would do is tell us low, barely above minimum wage earners to do a better job policing this part of the attraction. Part 4, Wake-Up Call. School kids. Oh, how we loathed schools, mostly teenager ones. Little kids no more than 5 to 10. Oh, they were delightful. We were happy with them. The main reason was because the teachers, who were still responsible for the kids no matter what, actually followed our guidelines. So naturally, we liked the little ones and were genuinely more concerned for them than normal. We all then had our moment of fear when it was reported that a 7-year-old boy had slipped and fallen on the ice, no doubt having been playing with classmates and unintentionally not seeing where he was going. That didn't save his 2 front teeth chipping and a call for our on-site first aid team to come and help with this mess. Luckily, he seemed all right, besides the fact the tooth fairy was going to be paying double that night. But for us, lower and middle management, it was the final straw. I wish I'd taken a photo of that accident and incident report for posterity. The number of people co-signing it? Part 5, the fallout. Nobody wants a lawsuit, and that kid's parents had grounds to do so like nobody's business. The fact a child had been injured from negligence did not look good on upper management's part, and it wasn't as if they could pretend nothing had happened. Everyone had been telling them about the risk, and when it got to the bigwigs, I can only imagine what was said. Miraculously, and within 2 days of the kids' teeth, they put an anti-slip surface on the brick pavement at what was probably more of a cost than had they just done so in the summer. The barriers were removed, and the number of paper accident and incident reports dramatically decreased. They finally also got around to installing tablet devices with which we could fill in reports without needing to drop position. Our lives were made easier. They got near full, and that kid probably has a fun story for when he's older and has kids himself. I'd like to say upper management learned their lesson and took our words on board for future endeavors, but that's like expecting the dog to not poop on the carpet after the first time you shove their nose into it. I no longer work there for other reasons, and many of the people who joined in the act of malicious compliance have since gone elsewhere. But for nearly 3 glorious months, you'd never seen a department work together like ours in that way before or since. And our last story. Nosy neighbors got my brother's truck towed, so I upgraded to a 1960 Lincoln Continental. I live in a mostly quiet, semi-retired neighborhood tucked near a lake, the kind of place snowbirds and weekenders flock to during the warmer months. Most of the year-rounders are retirees who like their peace, their routines, and, let's be honest, their opinions. Still, it's generally a live-and-let-live kind of vibe. That is, until a couple of years ago when the neighbors next door decided to build themselves a shiny new garage and a fancy driveway. Suddenly, their daily parking situation shifted from driveway by the house to now we're practically hugging the property line. No big deal, right? Wrong. Because next to where they plopped that new driveway is my forsythia hedge. It's an old, glorious tangle of sunshine yellow flowers in the spring, been growing there long before they ever moved in. I let it grow a bit wild, sure, but it's fully on my side and not in anyone's way. I even mow a nice 5-foot strip between it and the road to keep things neat. But apparently that wasn't good enough for them. Almost immediately, the complaints started. They said the hedge blocked their view when backing out, and I explained, politely at first, that our state property owners aren't legally obligated to maintain hedges for someone else's line of sight, as long as it's not encroaching on the public roadway, and I'm well within those limits. Their response? If they couldn't make me trim the hedge, they'd find something else to complain about. Enter county code enforcement. Their new hobby became finding petty things to report me for. Overgrown grass? Nope. Junk in the yard? Nada. But then they zeroed in on a truck parked at the back of my property. It belonged to my brother. He was in the middle of a move and needed a place to keep it temporarily. Unfortunately, he was involved in a bad accident shortly after and couldn't deal with it. The truck sat there, perfectly legal at first, until the tags expired. And wouldn't you know it, a couple weeks later, I got an oh-so-friendly letter from the county. Threats of fines, demands to remove the abandoned vehicle. Gee, I wonder who could have tipped them off. At that point, I was tired, but not defeated. So I called my brother, told him it was time to let the truck go. He agreed, sold it for scrap, and it got towed away just this morning. I could practically hear the celebratory gin and tonic clinks from their deck. I imagine them nudging each other, feeling smug about their victory and admiring their extra 6 inches of view from their driveway. Well, that view didn't last long. This afternoon, I backed my second vehicle, my lovingly preserved 1960 Lincoln Continental, right into that exact same spot. Thing's a beast. It's nearly 2 feet longer than my brother's old truck, with tail fins that could cut glass. And oh, did I mention fully insured, freshly registered, and absolutely legal in every way? Now, I'm a single person, and yes, I have 2 cars. I don't drive the Lincoln often, but with fall approaching, I just might take her for a scenic spin before winter hits. Or not, depends on my mood and how often they glare over the hedge. So while they technically won and got rid of the truck, I like to think of it more as me upgrading the view blocker with chrome. And if they want to tattle again, be my guest. This time I'm 5 steps ahead with paperwork. Well done, OP. You upgraded their problem with flair, and now they get a look at the sleek tail fins of a registered, insured, classic car every time they squint past your legally sound forsythia hedge. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.